And good morning to you again on this Wednesday morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion. Soon we're going to be going live. It looks like everybody sort of is in agreement on. Let's go to the first hour of the trading session. So going forward, this would be 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 East Coast Time, and so forth. So that's something that we're really excited about. There might be some Q&A as well, and we'll at least be live, and everybody has an opportunity to maybe throw in some ideas and some questions if there are some along the way. Again, this is 8 to 10 minutes each and every day, and I look forward to doing it every single day during the trading day. I'll tell you what, it's exciting during the week, and let's just go back to yesterday real quick. So it was time to vote. We've been looking forward to this for a very long period of time. Looked like with great turnout across the country, particularly here in my state, we had a monstrous turnout as well. A lot of ballots were being cast long before yesterday, but yesterday still was the actual day that those that decided they wanted to do it in person and wanted to do it on the day, well, yesterday was that day, and it was a very, very incredible day in terms of what was going on in the markets as the voting day and the trading day were both going on. An explosive move to the upside yesterday. Matter of fact, we opened up over 300 points the first hour. We jumped another 300 points, and we basically hung on to that, call it 500 to 600 point gain throughout the session. So a really nice performance from the Dow. The NASDAQ as well had a really nice move to the upside, higher, but about half that of the Dow, but rapidly caught up from early parts of the day and just continued to be very, very strong. Markets were strong throughout the session. We watched the volatility index get hammered pretty good to the downside yesterday, down about 6% or thereabouts, trading right around that 35, 36 range is where it seemed to have found itself yesterday. But you take a look at what the S&P as well, up about 2%, 70 points or thereabouts. So just incredible across all the major indices, a really nice, powerful move to the upside as people were casting their ballots and as people were looking forward to last night and obviously this morning. I don't know when we're going to get our answers, and that's something we've been talking about for a while now. And so hold on to your seats. That will happen at some point in time, but it looks like right now too close to call in many states on a lot of different, not just the presidential, but in a lot of the other different runs that were going out there. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see exactly how this all plays out as we go through the next couple of trading sessions. But it is going to be something that eventually, it looks like there are certain dates out there also that we're just going to have some answers. But they were just going through it just a minute ago on television and talking about just how tight some of these races really are still. And we're talking about tens of thousands of votes with many votes still yet to be counted. So plenty still to go on. But an explosive day yesterday. Technology yesterday, again, pretty strong. Facebook and Apple and Tesla all up about 6% or more. And then you look over at Amazon, at Google and Microsoft and Cisco, that pretty strong. Semiconductors also very strong. You look at NVIDIA, AMD, Micron, Applied Materials, Qualcomm. You go through the list, Xilinx, NXPI, all very strong. But it really was the financials yesterday. The financials really held up pretty nicely and moved to the upside with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, Capital One, Bank of America, PNC, US Bank. You get the idea. Just across regional type banks, the smaller next level banks, and the mega banks as well. So industrials also up 3%, look like dang near across the board. Boeing and FedEx and UPS and UNP and Caterpillar, Deere, all across the board. Very, very strong performance yesterday. What really did stand out, though, was those rails were rocking yesterday. You take a look over at CSX and UNP, and I'll tell you what, it's just absolutely, I mean, KSU, all these various names really having a really, really impressive day. We had great volumes as well. Still not quite in that 30 million range, but 26.5 million, pretty strong day as well. Apple traded about half the normal number, so that was a little over 1 million. You had NIO around 800,000, Tesla around 600,000. Throw in Baba for about 500,000. Now that's a name that has not been able to participate. Didn't participate yesterday, is struggling a little bit today relatively. And I'll tell you what, the markets today, just incredible in the early pre-markets and last night. Just some wild ride up and down and a lot of volatility, a lot of trying to decipher exactly what was going on in terms of the races, specifically the presidential race, of course. But Dow this morning, some of the early indicators look like the Dow's going to be up pretty strong. It was. It went by the time we got to the opening, we're up about 250. Right now, we're up almost 400 points. The NASDAQ looked like it was going to be around somewhere up about 300 points. It is up 315 points right now. S&P looked like it was going to be somewhere in that up 55 range. Right now, up 63. So building upon what we were seeing in the overnight, the pre-market, the early parts of the day, and now about 30 minutes in, building on that even a little bit more. We look at the volatility index. Wow, that thing has gotten hammered. First, early on, we were down about 31. We were down significantly, call it 13%. Now we're down 19%. We're trading 28.45, down 7 points on the VIX. So that's a major move to the downside. I mean, we haven't seen something like this. We were just talking just last week, we had a close over 40. So gives you a little idea. Volatility can be volatile as well. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And not understanding and not having all of the answers. Well, we don't have all of the answers, but certainly we have a lot more answers today than we had last night in terms of some of the races. And I'm not just talking about the presidential races. I'm talking about all the races throughout the rest of the country and some of the shifting around governors and senators, all the rest of that. So that seems to be something that has maybe calmed down markets a little bit, and we'll have a little bit better understanding over the next couple of days, obviously. But 28.5 on the VIX. Boy, that surprised me. I just looked minutes ago and it was trading at 31. So we really are getting pushed to the downside. So some of the leaders. When you look over the NASDAQ, wow, we've got some great leadership out of Facebook and Adobe and Zoom and Workday, all of those names. Zebra Technologies, another one of those names. But I'll tell you what's really strong early on. Take a look at healthcare. Wow, UNH up a little over 8%. We had Merck up over 4.5%. Amgen up over 4%. Technology as well, very, very strong early on. Microsoft, Apple, Salesforce, all up about 30% or 3%, excuse me, or more. So that's been pretty good. Now, there are laggers out there too. Financials lagging a little bit, industrials lagging a little bit. I was looking at the financials. Now that may have shifted since I just looked 5 minutes ago because that's how fast things are moving. But financials were down about 2%. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, you go through the list. Industrials also down a little bit. You had Caterpillar and Dow, 3M, some of those names. Energy, another one of those areas that at least early on, and that was volatile yesterday. We had some ups and some downs in energy, and we've talked about some of those other beta names that also move at an extreme rate. Well, this morning, at least early on, we were looking at the OIH and some of those next level names in the services area, and they were getting pushed down about twice as, in terms of the percentage, about twice as much as we were seeing out of the XLE. So strength in healthcare, strength in semis, strength in technology, and across the board. That healthcare strength, though, that really does stand out early on, at least for me. Cigna and Anthem. Also, take a look at these home builders, an explosive move to the upside there as well. D.R. Horton, Lennar, across the board, just seeing a lot of strength there. So we continue to watch all of this, and not going to forget, by the way, today you're going to see me on the halftime report. It's going to be pretty interesting. I'm sure we're going to have all kinds of guests. Going to be very political, I'm sure, as well. Hopefully we get to talk a lot about what's going on within the markets themselves and some of the unusual option activity. Speaking of unusual option activity, how about that EEM? Now, normally I don't like to give everybody a big ETF, and it's not something that we even like to trade all that often because we like to dig down, get a little deeper, and get right on top of whatever it might be and avoid the ETFs. More of a reference point oftentimes. You hear me talk about the XLF all the time, this magnet towards 25. I don't really like trading the XLF all that much, but I do use that as my barometer essentially of JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and all the big banks and all the financials that are built into that product. But oftentimes we avoid, in terms of trading, a lot of these ETFs. This one I'm going to tell you today is just a great indicator of something, I think. So just hear me out here on this one. EEM. Now the EEM was trading around 46 and a quarter, call it. And we have some pretty big buyers, 12,000 of the, now here's another thing, some with different things happening and splits and all these other things, sometimes you get some really crazy strikes in the options world. And please understand, if you don't understand what I'm talking about when I say strikes, definitely get educated. You're going to have to know a lot more about the options world, or you will be very disappointed. You'll be very frustrated as you jump into it. You got to be educated. The Market Rebellion guys are the very, very best in the business with education. Start at the beginning levels, move on to the next, move on to the next. And I'll tell you what, it will be well worth it. That is something that is really, really important. So the 49, not the 49 and a halves, not the 49 and three quarters, the 49.73, give you just very specific. So call it close to the 49 3/4 strike options. Okay, 12,000 of those traded for about 18 cents. Now, big, nice, juicy trade there. They're not having to pay a lot of premium, and they're just looking for a fairly rapid move to the upside. We got December here, so you got a little bit of time, a little bit more time than we normally do. But so the stocks, the ETF is going to have to make a move in this period of time. You got 2 months essentially for this to play out. It's got to make a move to the upside. Now, I've heard a lot of guys, John and I have talked about this. Where do you want to be maybe going forward, depending on the elections and all the rest of that? And maybe EEM might be an area where we might start to see some movement. So the emerging markets could be an area that might be interesting. Well, we certainly see this paper today. By the way, they hedged this off. Hedging means this, guys. You buy one strike and you sell a higher strike. That way you're hedging off a little bit of what you're doing in that trade. So there's even less money out there on this trade, but capping off some of the upside, not expecting this explosive move up that much higher to go up and through that 51 level, and that's why they're doing it. But it's a really interesting trade. I like to see that kind of size. 12,000 is a nice juicy amount of contracts trading there. So we'll keep an eye on that in the EEM. Again, it's not something we trade very often. I usually use something like that, or if I see other ETFs, whether it's the spiders or in the Qs or whatever it might be, a lot of the time I just use that in the memory banks and just try to think about, wow, we're starting to see a lot more activity in some of these companies from Brazil, from wherever it might be, all the rest of that. So that's how I oftentimes use that, more as a measuring stick and less about the actual ETF itself. But again, 12,000 of these December, 49 and 0.73 strike calls, again 18 cents. So a pretty good sized trade, folks. Market Rebellion, The Take, these guys do a great job over there at the Minnesotan. If you're ever interested in any of these products, any of the hats and shirts and golfs, by the way, it's going to be 75 degrees to here today. Wow. Swinging the club a little bit yesterday. Might have to get out there today after the halftime report. I'll see you at noon Eastern time today for that. Should be a pretty interesting day, obviously, post-elections, although is it really post-elections? Some of them have been decided, not all of them. We'll see you then. Take care.